Good morning friends. Welcome back to Parnika tutorials. In this video, I want to discuss what is the need for an array, what is an array, how to declare an array, and how to initialize the elements in an array. All these things I will discuss in detail. So I request everyone to watch the complete video for better understanding. First, let me discuss what is the need for an array. When we are discussing about the variables, we have discussed these few points. That is that a variable can able to store a constant, but it can able to store a single constant at a time. Meaning is that suppose if I have created a variable called a whose data type is int, then it can able to store only integer constants. Am I right? If you have created a variable whose data type is char, it can able to store character constants. Similarly, if you create a variable whose data type is float, you can able to store the real constants. Now, if you have assigned a value 20 to this variable, then in the memory location, let's take that 500 memory location, the variable a will can able to store the value 20. Now, how many bytes of memory will be occupied? That depends on which compiler you are using. If you are using a 16-bit compiler, then it will occupy 2 bytes of memory. If you are using a 32-bit compiler, it will occupy 4 bytes of memory. Is it clear or not? Now let's take that I have incremented the a value. I am doing the a is equal to a plus 1 or a plus plus. This is a post increment. So the a value will be updated to 21. Now previously it was storing 20. Now it is able to store 21. So at a time you can able to store a single constant using a variable. Now let's take an example. I am teaching a C programming course to 125 students. Let's take that. Now I want to store their marks. Now if I want to store their marks, then how many variables I need to create? I need to create 125 unique variables I need to create. Am I right or wrong? Inside the same function, you cannot declare the variable again. Duplication, you cannot do it. So 125 unique variables you need to create, and all these variables should satisfy the properties of a variable while you are keeping the name. Already we have discussed what are the rules you need to follow whenever you are creating a variable. Am I right? Now this is a tedious task because 125 unique variables creating and using them will be very tedious task. So that is little bit difficult. So that's why the researchers have developed the array concept. Now, I hope you have understood what is the need of an array. Is it clear? If you want to store multiple values in a single variable, then it is not possible using this variable. So, to overcome that one, researchers have introduced the concept called array. Now, what is an array? Array is a simple data structure which can able to store collection of similar items in a contiguous memory. Now let me discuss each point in detail. Collection of similar data items. Similar data items are homogeneous data items. We have the two concepts, homogeneous, heterogeneous. Homogeneous means similar type, whereas heterogeneous means different type. So what is meant by similar data type? Suppose if you want to store only integer constant, collection of integer constants, then you can do it. If you want to store a collection of characters, you can do it using array. If you want to store a collection of real constants, you can do it. But in a same array, you are not allowed to store integer constants, real constant, character constants. That is not possible. Is it clear? So you can store a collection of similar items. Okay? Is it clear? And the second point I have discussed that it will be a contiguous memory location. What is these points? Let me discuss. Suppose let me discuss the declaration of an array. Okay, then I will discuss with an example. Now, how to declare an array? You have to use data type, okay, and then you have to use array name, and then you have to specify the size. This is the generalized syntax of declaring an array. Data type, array name, and you need to specify the size. Let me give a simple example. I am writing int, okay, a of some 6. Now the data type is int, so it can able to store all the integer constants. And what is the name of the array? A. And how many values it can store? 6 values it can store. Is it clear? Are you able to understand? So A is an array variable. It can able to store 6 integer constants in a contiguous memory location. Now you can ask me, sir, how can I access the elements? Means, well, how can I take like a zeroth value, first value, second value, third element, all these things, how can I retrieve it? To know that one, you should know the concept called indexing. Before teaching about what is indexing, let me discuss how these values will be stored. As I said earlier, they will be stored in the contiguous memory locations. Am I right or wrong? So, you will have the first element, second element, third element, fourth element, fifth element and sixth element. Like this, it will be stored. Okay. Now, let me give a simple example. Your first element is there in the address location 100th byte. Then can you tell me what will be the address of the next element? Let's take that you are using a 32-bit compiler. If you are using a 32-bit compiler, one integer variable occupies 4 bytes of memory. Now, if it is 100th byte, what will be the address of the next element? It will be 104. And the next one will be 108, 1112, 116, 120. So, all these elements we will have in a contiguous memory locations. Okay, are you able to understand this point or not? Okay, that is the advantage of an array. Now, how can I access these elements? First element, second element, third element, fourth element. We can access using the indices. The array index will always start, or let me write index. The array index will always starts from 0 and it will go up to size -1. In this example, the size is 6, so the array index will start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up to 5 it will go. So now if you count it, number of elements are there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can able to store 6 values. So always remember this point, the array index will always starts from 0. So this is the 0th index, first index, third index, fourth index, fifth index. Okay, are you able to understand it or not? So these are the addresses. If you are thinking that the first address location is 100, then all the next elements will be stored in these address locations and the indexes will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is about them. Now you can ask me, how can I access each element? Is it clear? Now, if you want to access any element, you need to specify two things. What is the array name? You have to specify the array name and the index. Okay? And remember one more important point. You can access any element randomly. Meaning is that you can directly access the fourth element or you can directly access the sixth element with the help of the array name and index. Suppose if I want to access the fourth element, is it clear? Then I can use the array name as A and its index is 3. Because the fourth element, the index is 3 because always the index will start from 0. Are you able to understand? So this is the way you can access the value. Now you can ask me, sir, how can I access the address? Address is very simple. You add ampersand, then you will get the address. Are you able to understand it or not? So if you want the value, you can use the array name and the corresponding index. If you want the address, you use the ampersand, array name and the corresponding index, you will get the address. So this is about the declaration of an array and how the memory will be stored, okay, and how can you access an element randomly. Now let me discuss how to initialize the elements in the array. Okay, let me discuss about initialization. The generalized syntax of initialization is, you will have the data type, you will have the array name, and you will specify the size, Then open the curly braces. You can write the value 1, value 2, value 3, so on. Close the curly braces and ends with a semicolon. So this is the generalized syntax of initializing any array. You have to specify the data type, array name, size. This size is optional. I will discuss that point. And you have to open the curly braces and you have to specify all these values. Let me give a simple example. The data type I am giving it as int, and I am creating a variable array name with a variable called a, and size I am specifying it as 6. Now I am writing the values as 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let me write up to 4. Okay, 4 values I have specified. Okay, now what is this point? If you initialize like this, what will happen? Now sir, 1, 2, 3, 4 are there. You have specified the size as 6. Okay, so you should specify the 6 elements, but you initialized with the 4 elements. What will happen? Will it give an error or not? That will be your question. Let me clarify this point. Okay, now if you specify a of 6 is equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4, then a of 0, if you specify like this, a of 0 is equal to 1, means in the 0th index the first value 1 will be stored, which is nothing but 1. Similarly, in a of 1, the value 2 will be stored. Is it clear? So 2 will be stored here. In a of 2, means the third element, the value will be stored as 3. In the fourth element, the value 4 will be stored. Now you can ask me that what is these two values will consist of? These two will consist of values 0 and 0. Lot of students will think that it will consist of a garbage value. No. If you have initialized few of the elements and you did not initialize the remaining elements, then the remaining elements will consist of value 0 if it is an integer array. If it is a character array, you will have the null. If it is a float array, you will have a 0.0. Based on the data type, the value will be stored. Now you can ask me, sir, we have studied in a textbook that it will show a garbage values. That also I will discuss the point here. Suppose let's take that you have created or declared an array A. Okay, not array A, any name you can use. For simplicity, I am writing it as an A, and you are specifying the size and you are specifying the data type also. Without initializing any value, if you are trying to access the first element in an array, you want to print the first element, how can you write? Array name, and the index you have to write it as 0. Are you able to understand it or not? Because you have to specify the array name and the corresponding index, because I want to print the first element, so the index will be 0. Now if you look at here, I just declared the array. When you are declaring the array without initializing any value, then it will consist of default values, which will be the garbage values. Please remember these 2 points. Lot of students will confuse with these 2 points. If you declared an array and without initializing any element, and if you are trying to print a value of a particular location, then you will get the garbage value. Okay, you will get a garbage value. However, if you initialize a few of the elements, even one element is also okay, then the remaining elements will consist of values depends on the data type. If it is an int, it will consist of values 0. If it is a char, it will consist of values null. Is it clear? Are you able to understand this point? Okay, so this is about initialization. Okay, now let me discuss another way of initializing. Now you can even write like int array name, okay, and without specifying the size, you can assign the values such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this I have assigned. Then what will happen? Lot of students will think that it is an error. It is not an error. It will allocate the memory based on how many values you are assigning here. As you are assigning 6 values, then it will create an array which can able to store 6 integer constants. So this will consist of value 1, value 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, are you able to understand? These memory locations will be contiguous. Now if you find the size of this one, okay, you already know how to find a size of an operator, okay, using the size of, okay, not a size of operator, size of a data type or a variable, but whereas size of is an operator, okay. So if you use the size of, and if you write the array name a, and if you use the inbuilt function printf percentage d size of a, then can you guess what will be the value will be printed? If you are using a 32-bit compiler, you know that one integer will occupy 4 bytes. Am I right? Now you are storing 6 such integers. So 6 into 4, which will be 24 bytes of memory will be allocated for this one. Are you able to understand it or not? Even this one is also, because you are creating a integer a of 6, so you can store 6 elements. If you compiling in a 32-bit compiler, even here also it will allocate 24 bytes of memory. I hope you have understood this point. Okay. Now let me discuss one more important points. The arrays are classified into various types such as one-dimensional array, two-dimensional array and multi-dimensional array. Let me discuss about them. What is a one-dimensional array? What is a two-dimensional array? And what is a multi-dimensional array? Now, the one-dimensional array will have the data type, array name, and you will have the size. Okay, this is a one-dimensional array. Already we have discussed here. Now what is a two-dimensional array? You will have the data type, you will have the array name, and you will have the two sizes, means the rows and the columns. So based on these braces, you can specify whether it is a one-dimensional array or two-dimensional array. For a one-dimensional array, you will have one open braces, one closed braces. Inside that, you will have the size. If it is a two-dimensional array, you will have a open braces, closed. So this is a two-dimensional array. If you want to three-dimensional array, then you will have like this. The remaining things are same: data type, array name, all these things. So this is about one-dimensional, two-dimensional, three-dimensional. Like that, you can go for four-dimensional, five-dimensionals also. Okay. Now in this video, I want to discuss how to store the values in an array. Okay. Read the values from the user and save it, and then I want to display the values again back to the user. Okay, let me discuss that program so that you will understand about the one-dimensional arrays in detail, and then I will discuss few programs related to how to find the second highest element from an array, because everyone know how to find the largest element in an array. They can write the program, but if I ask in find the second largest element in an array, they will fail to do it. So all these things I will discuss one by one. Then we will discuss about the two-dimensional array. Now let me write a C program to read the values from the user and store it in an array and then display back to the user. So I need to use the header file called stdio.h. Okay, then void main, then int array name, let's take that a, and I am giving it as a 6. Okay, and I am declaring it a variable called I. Then sorry for it, I will ask the user to enter the elements, enter 6 elements. Once the user has entered the 6 elements, I need to scan them, okay, or I have to read them. So as I need to read 6 elements. If I want to read one element, I can use a scanf. Okay, if it is 2 elements in a scanf, I can do it. But as it is 6 elements, let me use the loops. Okay, we have 3 loops such as for loop, while loop and do while loop. You can use any loop. Let me use the for loop. In a for loop, you will have 3 sections, not only for loop. Any loop will have 3 sections such as initialization, condition checking and update section. So here I want to initialize the value 0. Why I am initializing the I value 0? Because always the array index will start from 0. Okay, and I less than 6, and then I plus plus. Then let me write a statement called scanf %d ampersand a of I, because you need to store them in the address location of the corresponding index. Then whatever the values you have entered, you want to display them. You want to use an inbuilt function printf to display the statement as the entered elements are. Okay, then let me use the for loop. For I is equal to 0, I less than 6, I plus plus, printf %d \n a of I. Let me complete it, get ch and close the main function. Okay, now let me discuss what is the working process of this program. To know the arrays, you should know the loops. I hope you know the loops concepts. If you don't know about the loops, I request you to go back and watch my videos related to the for loop, while loop and do while loop and come back to this video. Now, in a for loop, you will have a initialization, you will have the condition checking, you will have the update section. Okay, now initially I value is 0. Okay, that's good. I value is 0. Now I is less than 6. 0 is less than 6 or not? Yes, this condition is true. If this condition is true, what are the statements which are there in the for loop? They need to be executed. Am I right or wrong? Now lot of students will think that, sir, you forgot to write the curly braces, open curly brace, close curly brace. When I was discussing about the loops, I have discussed one important point. Inside the for loop or inside the loop, if you have a single statement, then the curly braces are optional. If you have more than one statement, then they are compulsory. Okay, so the meaning is that if the condition is true, you need to execute only this statement. Okay, now %d scanf you are using, so it is reading a value, and what kind of values it is reading, it depends on the format specifier. As I am using a %d, it is reads the integer constants, and whatever the value it is reading, it will store in the address location as ampersand a of I, where the I value is 0. So in the first address location, meaning is that in the first element, whatever the value you are reading, that will be stored. Is it clear? And then the I value will be incremented. Again the condition is true. The next element will be stored in the address location of a of 1, means in the index 1, the next element will be stored. Like that it will do. When the I value becomes 6, the condition will be failed, because 6 is not less than 6, 6 is equal to 6, then this condition will stop. Then once you scanned all these elements, you want to print them. So I am displaying the output as the entered elements are, and then again I am using a for loop. Instead of printf, I am using, instead of scanf, I am using the printf inbuilt function. Okay, and here I am not specifying the address, because a of I means a value you are displaying, here address you are specifying. Is it clear? So now lot of students will have the doubt, sir, instead of the loop, can I write a scanf? Yes, without using the loop you can do it. Then how you have to do? You have to write scanf. As you need to read the 6 values, you have to write %d, 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 %d. 6 times you need to specify, 3, 5, 6 times you need to specify, because you are reading the integer constants. And then you are specifying ampersand a of 0, ampersand a of 1, ampersand a of 2, ampersand a of 3, ampersand a of 4, ampersand a of 5. Like this you need to specify. Now as this is only 6 elements, you are able to do the using the single scanf, no problem, without using the loops. If the array consists of 100 elements, then it will be very difficult. So that's why you better go for using the loops. So in this video I have discussed about what is the need for an array, what is an array, how to declare an array, and what are the default values an array will consist of, how to initialize the elements in an array, how to access the element in an array. All these points I have discussed in detail. If you still have any doubts related to this concept, feel free to ask me in the comment section. I will try to clear your doubt as early as possible. In the next video, I will discuss how to write a C program to find the second largest element in an array. So if you want to learn that concept, I request you to watch the next video. Thank you for watching the complete video. Have a nice day.